Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. I'm Amanda Wayers, your host, and I have with me Melanie Willis as our co-host today. Hey, Melanie.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I feel like, everything is blooming. And so along with that comes all of a sudden, my nose is running, my eyes are itching. But it's so beautiful. I love it.
Yes, I have all of those same things happening. I have Kleenex right here.
Exactly.
So since we saw you last, you actually went on a really big trip.
I did. And it was really fun about our trip. So my family went to France, which was wonderful. What was really cool about this trip is it was with a whole bunch of other homeschoolers. It was through a homeschool travel group. And so we got to go to France and we did a river cruise and we were on a boat with a whole bunch of other homeschoolers. It was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great experience.
It was super fun. Super fun.
That's wonderful. So I want to ask you, do you have musical people in your family?
Yes, I do. So it's really interesting. I always grew up singing and playing a little bit of music. I play a little guitar, tiny bit of piano, not much. And when my kids started coming along, my girls in particular are very musical. They are both wonderful singers. My younger daughter plays all kinds of instruments. And then my youngest son, he also, he's not doing it right now, but he does play a number of instruments as well. So yeah. How about you?
Yes, definitely. I grew up in a very musical family. There was lots of stuff at church, and then my grandfather played guitar, and he played in a couple of bluegrass bands. And my mom played guitar, and she was very musical. And she had a younger brother that was very musical. And because there was all those different ages with music, I was exposed to lots of different genres. And I think that was a very fortunate thing. And so I grew up loving music, and I played violin in school, and I played flute and piccolo, and actually went to college to get a music degree. And so I think it was really interesting that I grew up under those circumstances and loved music. I think with my children, who are very, very musical, I don't know that I exposed them in the same way that I was. So, God just kind of takes over sometimes, I guess. Of course, had music in church, and my husband plays drums, and so he likes music. But I don't know that I personally exposed them very much. I know we would do, when we had school every day, I would start out the school day after we had our time of prayer. I would suggest a new genre or a new person in music, if it was going to be Elvis or B.B. King, and just spend 5 or 10 minutes talking to them about whatever the genre was and who it was. And then we would kind of have whatever music playing in the background as we did school that day. But I didn't show me playing music very often, but they all grew up to be incredibly musical. They all play multiple musical instruments. They've been in a band together at the church for several years, and they all love music. So I think it's wonderful, because music is something that reaches everybody's souls, and it's good for your mind. So you recently sat down and interviewed someone and had a discussion about music. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So a while ago, some professors in the music department at Meredith College contacted me and said, hey, we have an idea for something you could talk about on the Homeschool Show. And they had quite a few homeschool students come through their program and really just loved that experience and just wanted to share with homeschool families, all about music, what that can do, what you can do with music in the future, just all kinds of things. And I thought it was a great idea. I knew that you and your kids are very musical. I knew we had some music experience in our family. And I thought that's a great thing to explore, for homeschoolers, because we have kind of a unique dynamic. We don't necessarily have chorus class or, like I did when I was in elementary school, we had chorus or we had music theory, whatever. We might not have band or choir, although more and more opportunities like that for homeschoolers are coming up, but we have more time and, to really dive in and experience music and how good that is for us. So I thought it was fascinating. I hope you all out there listening and watching think it's as interesting as I did. But I had a great interview with actually the head of the music department at Meredith College, and she was a delight. So I'm so excited we get to watch that.
My name is Jeanie Wozencraft Ornelas, and I am the head of music at Meredith College right now. I started off my career singing professionally, sang in 16 countries, and then decided I needed a home base, came back, decided to do my doctorate and start teaching. And I taught for 32 years in New Mexico, teaching voice and directing opera, and then retired and came out here. Planned to stay 3 years, and I'm in my 9th year at Meredith. So still doing well. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that so much. All right. So this is so neat. So you and your colleague contacted us
Yes.
about an idea for the show, and I thought it was great. So what kind of put that in your mind about contacting us and having this idea for the show?
Well, ever since homeschooling has become kind of a thing, I've had homeschool students, both in New Mexico and here. Love, love, love them. And have had great successes with them. And so Christy and I, Christy is my right-hand man as far as all things recruiting. And especially after COVID, we were like, we really need to reach out to the homeschool students because there's so much information and things that they probably don't get that you can get from like your choir director or band director at school or hanging in the, on a bulletin board or counselors.
Yeah.
And we went to the Thrive conference last spring too. Just really, really value our homeschool students and want to make sure that opportunities are available to them in music as well.
I love that. That is so great because it is, I think sometimes in the homeschool world, especially, the homeschool community is growing and growing by leaps and bounds right now. And, but sometimes those connections and just the knowledge that maybe, like you said, the choir director or the guidance counselor or whoever would have is a little bit difficult to just find on your own. So I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. All right. So you've had some homeschool students over the years, and I want to know if a homeschool family has a student that is musically gifted, what are some suggestions for them, like to see if a career in music is for them or, going to college, majoring in music? What would you suggest that a family, kind of the path that they should take?
Okay, so Christy and I were talking about this on our walk recently. It was cold. But one of the first things I would say is if you have a child, and it is never too young to start. As a matter of fact, I think every child should have piano lessons at some point. There are skills in there that can apply to any career. But also, if you have a child who feels like music is in their soul, the first thing I'd say is give them those opportunities. and be careful not to make a judgment early. I was told in second grade I couldn't sing, so I didn't for 7 years. And then I ended up having an international singing career. So give them those opportunities. And the biggest thing I would say is not just piano, but, other lessons as well. One of the things that I really value, the high school students that I work with, I can help them, with the audition process and things like that. So you use the word connections. Connections are really important. Help them to start thinking outside the box a little bit about careers in music. Every parent goes, you want to major in music? Okay, you can live in my basement for the rest of your life.
That's true.
It is. But the starving musician story is not the reality. Music is a multi-billion-dollar business in our country, in the world.
Yeah.
Billions of the GDP, I forget what percentage of the GDP music and the entertainment business is. There's everything from, you have a child who's musically inclined who loves video games. Okay. Write music for video games, become a session musician for video games, voiceover for video games. You have a child who likes to shop. Every shop you go to in the mall has music designed for that shop. You can become a shop, like a store music consultant. There are people who spend time going to different businesses and learning what their niche population is, and then designing their Spotify list or playlist for them. Music composition, music performance, music teaching, all sorts of different jobs. Music therapy. We've had students who've paired we have the Bachelor of Arts degree in music, which they can pair with any other major or minor. We've had all sorts of people. And I have one former student who's now doing environmental studies. I'm working with them on a study, the ambient noise in the environment and its effect on animal and human voices. So there are so many ways that you can go with music. And music also teaches analytical, creative skills, physical skills, thinking outside of the box, working as part of an ensemble, things that other fields really value, medicine, law, so many businesses that look at music on a transcript and go, great, I know this is a person who can work independently, who can work as a part of a team. Yeah. And then the other thing I would say for a parent who has a child that they think is musically inclined, look at summer camps. There are lots and lots of really wonderful summer camps right here in North Carolina as well. Summer camps, workshops, get them involved in, like lessons. Like I said, if you're taking lessons with a university professor, they can help you prepare your college entrance auditions and things like that. So every college music program requires an audition to come in. It's nice if you've got the inside scoop on how do I audition for different colleges.
Yeah. That's so neat. I haven't really thought about all those different aspects where music could be used. That's really amazing. Yeah. I did hear
a list that I'll share with you of it, and we've listed a lot of careers in music, but not all. There are hundreds of different careers that music can be a part of.
Yeah. How neat. I did hear years ago a speaker talking about a connection between music and art and math. And how those can really go together. And
yes,
I had never thought of that. Like, I think in a lot of our minds, we think kids are either math science people or artsy people, but really they go together.
They do. They really, really do. And I have a friend who got his undergrad and master's degree in music and went to medical school. And he was talking with one of his professors who says, I love to have a musician because, number one, empathy is part of music. Thinking analytically and creatively. If I'm seeing these symptoms, but they're not exactly fitting this box, where is the box that I may have to create? So there's analytical thinking, there's creative thinking, there's working as a part of a team. because musicians perform together, collaborate all the time together. And then there's also that independent dedication that's needed in the practice room to practice your skills.
All right. Isn't she fun? I
That
thought
was
she was
really
really fun. I was like, oh, I would love to be in her class. That'd be awesome.
Can I do that now?
I know. Yeah. So she talked about several things that were really neat, interesting, fascinating to me. Some things I'd never really thought about, like different careers that you could go into after studying music that are not like playing music or performing or, teaching. There's a lot of things.
Definitely. And I like how she talked about all the different aspects and the other things that you can learn from music. And that's something that, I have talked about with my kids a lot, all the math, especially that you can learn. And you talked about that, how we tend to divide that math and science away from the arts, but how it all really goes together. And so it was really good to listen to you guys talk about that.
Yeah. I know. It definitely opened my eyes a little bit and reminded me of some things I had heard in previous years too. So I thought that was super interesting. I know in my family with my own homeschool with my kids, I really have tried to make music education, exposure to music, part of our day, even if it was just like what you said, just a few minutes of listening to something. Or, we did a time where we would sing a certain hymn and learn about, who wrote it and when did they write it and all that stuff. Or we would, try different instruments or all kinds of things, So there's so many opportunities out there that I think are just wonderful.
And so you don't have to buy a curriculum to do something like that. That's so easy to do. So that's wonderful. So if you enjoyed that interview, be sure and tune back in next week. We'll listen to part 2 of Amanda's interview with Jean.
Yes, that will be so good. All right. So now, do we have some news this week?
Yes, we do. Let me put on my glasses so I can see everything I wrote down. So we have 2 upcoming field trips. On April 25th, we have a field trip to the North Carolina Transportation Museum for the Tractors and Trains Day. So with your admission, you get to see all the exhibits, and there's several demonstrations that will be going on. There's going to be blacksmithing, textile processing, cow milking. They tie all this in. Cider pressing, old time toys. That would be really interesting. And you also do get, this is not normal for tours during the week, you do get to ride the train. And the really exciting part of this is not only do you get to ride the train, but you do get to ride in an actual car while it takes the little spin on the little locomotive train table thing.
Oh,
like we did in Thomas
That's
the
so
Train.
fun. Yes.
So I think that would be awesome. I would go just for that. And so you can purchase those tickets online at nche.com. Go to activities and field trips, and it's going to be the very first one listed, or second one listed. And then we also have, coming up on May the 6th, the Durham Bulls are hosting an education day. And there's going to be lots of little learning stations, and you get to see the game, and there is a lunch provided. And so you can register again at ncag.com, activities and field trips. And so be sure to go check all that out. That's some great end of year field trips we've got coming up.
I know. So fun. I was thinking, I don't know if I could talk my 16-year-old into going to the transportation museum again, but maybe I can. I'm going to see if I can, twist his arm a little. I would love that. But we are definitely planning on going to the Bulls game. That sounds fun. All right. So,
and don't forget, we have Thrive coming up very, very soon. So be sure to go get yourself registered to come to Thrive.
We want you to come to thrive. There is something there for everyone. I know in the last couple weeks, I've gotten several emails asking questions about the children's program or about the college fair or the trades fair. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can send emails. You can send questions to nche@nche.com, or you can reach out to us at the Homeschool Show, @nche.com. That's totally fine as well. Always happy to answer questions. So in the meantime, as we always say, you can help us out by liking and subscribing, sharing with your friends. If you have somebody in your life that is interested in music, or maybe they want to learn more about that music in your homeschool, send them this episode. That would be great. And as always, if you have any suggestions, any comments or questions, again, you can always reach us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. So that's all we have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you again next week for another part 2 of music and homeschooling. In the meantime, I hope you homeschool with confidence and joy. Bye-bye.